It is Advent of Code day 3. We've been doing these in TypeScript. I think I'll continue with that for now. Excuse me. I did look at the question already, and I think we're going to write a regex for this one, so that should be fun. So let's get started. Okay, so day 3, mull it over. Our computers are having issues, so I have no idea if any chief historians are in stock. You're welcome to check the warehouse, though, says the mildly flustered shopkeeper at the North Pole Toboggan Rental Shop. Love that. I would love to rent toboggans. The historians head out to take a look. The shopkeeper turns to you. Any chance you can see why our computers are having issues again? The computer appears to be trying to run a program, but its memory, your puzzle input, is corrupted. All of the instructions have been jumbled up. It seems like the goal of the program is just to multiply some numbers. It does that with some instructions like mul x, y. So let's multiply x, y. Fairly straightforward. And where x and y are each 1 to 3 digit numbers. For instance, mul 44, 46 would multiply 44 and 46 to get 2024. Similarly, mul 1, 2, 3, 4 would multiply 1, 2, 3 by 4. However, because the program's memory is corrupted, there's also many invalid characters that should be ignored, even if they look like part of a mul instruction. Sequences like, there's an example, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, or mul 2, 4 with spaces around them do nothing. So very strict regular expression in this case. For example, consider the following section of corrupted memory. We're going to use this as our test input. Only the 4 highlighted sections are real mul instructions. Adding up the result of each instruction produces 161, which is 2 times 4, plus 5 times 5, 11 times 8, 8 times 5. Okay, so if you use your input, search the corrupted memory for uncorrupt mul instructions, add them all together, and what do you get? So let's get started. So this is the same repo as yesterday. So I'm just going to create a new folder called 3 for day 3. I'm going to create a new main.ts file. I'm just going to paste this here. And then I'm just going to copy what we had from problem 2 and paste it into problem 3 so we have something to start from. Mainly, I just want to keep grabbing these bits for text decoder, reading the input file. I guess on that note, we should go ahead and create input.txt. So let's go ahead and grab our puzzly input, take this, paste it right here. It's beautiful. Interesting. It's not all one string either. So we might need to handle that. I can go ahead and remove part 2 because part 2 doesn't make sense for us right now. So let's handle this case. I am kind of curious. So we get lines. Okay, so that's really the contents. I'm going to change that name so that it doesn't confuse me here in a minute. So we have the contents. We pass those in there. I don't need any of this anymore. Okay, so this is part 1. Let's gut all of this. We don't need it. So yeah, let's write a regex, some big beefy regex. So we know we have the constant mul, so we want to multiply, right? And we need to do some capture groups. So if we're going to take some capture groups, we want, let's see, we essentially want 2. So we can do digit 1, 3. So any digit that is 1, 2, 3 digits in length. We go here, we want the same thing again. So we'll do any digit in 1, 2, 3 in length. Let's see. We need to escape that. I think that might be it. So let's start with this and see what we get. We might modify the regex more here in a minute. Let total sum, because we're going to calculate the total sum, so we'll set it equal to 0. We can go ahead and create a variable called match. The type for this is reg xp exec array or null, I think. We'll double check the types here in just a second. But we essentially want to do while match is equal to, let's wrap this because we want while match is while match equals regex dot exec input not equal null. So while we're getting matches, then we want to get some values from those matches. So for example, we want left, which is going to be parse int again, match 1, I believe. And then we have const right, which is going to be parse int match 2. Do we need the radix here? What's the default radix for this? I would assume it's base 10, but just in case it's not, let's add it. And we have a typo here, so that should be const right. And then all we need to do in theory is say total sum plus equals num1 time, oh, sorry, not num1, we called it left. So then in theory, all we need to do is total sum plus equal left times right. And I think that should calculate it. Now we can come here and return total sum. Let's use our test string really quick and just make sure that this is working like we would expect. So I can pull up my terminal here, cd into 3, Deno run main.ts, allow read 161, which I think is the input that, or the output that we would expect. Yeah, 161. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and pipe our contents in. I'm actually kind of thrilled that this one was just a simple regex so far. That's a big number, but we are multiplying, so that could be reasonable. And that's right. That's wow, that was quick. Okay, 1 gold star. As you scan through the the corrupted memory, you notice that some of the conditional statements are still intact. If you handle some uncorrupted conditional statements in the program, you might be able to get an even more accurate result. There are 2 new instructions you'll need to handle. The do instruction enables future mul instructions. The don't instruction disables future mul instructions. Only the most recent do or don't instructions apply. At the beginning of the program, mul instructions are enabled. Okay, what does this mean? This corrupted memory is similar to the example from before, but this time... Okay, so this complicates things a little bit, but I think what we will still want to do is take the regular expression approach. Okay, so let's start by modifying this regex here. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it in quotes. And we want to remove the G here, the /, and then I believe we're going to need to add extra backslashes here, 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 and here. Okay. Let's go ahead and define our next regex. So this one's going to be called, let's actually rename this so it's not just called regex anymore. Small mistake. Let me copy all of this and we'll paste here part 2. Okay, cool. Feeling better about that. Okay, so yeah, we need to rename this. So this will be something like MULP. No, we'll call it pattern. No P. This isn't Go. Const do pattern, which is going to be equal to do / and then that should cover it. And then we have a don't pattern, which is essentially going to be DON''T, the literals. Okay, that should escape that twice, I believe. So I think we're good there. I'm going to create a combined pattern. In fact, we'll give it a better name. We'll call it instruction pattern. And this instruction pattern is going to be the mol pattern or the do pattern or the don't pattern. So now that we have our instruction pattern, we want to create a new regex to cover that. So this will be instruction regex, and we can do new regex p instruction pattern, and we want to make it global. Okay, that makes sense. I always get a little nervous when I start getting deep in the regex rabbit hole, but I think this should work for us pretty well. So we still need our total sum, and then we need, I need to create a regex for the multiply. So we'll do new regex p, and then this will be the mol pattern. So I think we're good there. We're essentially using the do's and don'ts to set like an enabled state. So we can set enabled is, it's true by default. Is that what they said? Instructions are disabled. At the beginning of the program, instructions are enabled. Okay, cool. So it's true by default. And then how do we want to handle this? Const instructions is equal to input dot match instruction regex. So we'll get instructions if instructions. So we're matching on the set of instructions. I don't know if this is going to work. Instructions for const instruction of instructions. Try this, if new regex pattern. So I'm testing to see if it's a do. And we're not matching because we don't actually care about capture groups or matching off the regex. What did we call this thing? Enabled is, so if it's a do, enabled is true. It's an easy way to remember that. Else, if we do a new regex p, we can pull these out so we're not doing this every time too. So we have a don't pattern, and then we test our instruction on the don't pattern. Enabled is false if it is that case. Else if, so we want to check if enabled and mol regex dot match, no, test. Yeah, I think so. Instruction. We can destructure this. We actually don't care about the first value here because we're going to match. So all we really care about is left and right, kind of like before. So we can do instruction.match, and then we want to pass in the mol regex again. And then if we get in this case, we can take the total, we can sum it, parse int left times parse int right. I think the base radix is base 10, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Oh, interesting. Regex p or null must have a symbol iterator. Really? Does it not? Symbol match. It's an array of strings. I don't. Wild. Okay. And then we can remove this since we don't need it anymore. And then we can, we don't need this anymore, so we can remove that as well. And then we can call part 2. So let's console log part 2 contents. One too many. Let's give it a go. Okay. Interesting. So there's do's and don'ts. So that it makes sense that the second number would be smaller than the first number if we execute all the instructions in part 1, and then in part 2 we're only executing a subset of those. So that makes sense. Let's see if that is... Holy crap, that is correct. No, I didn't have to really go through this or debug. This is kind of an interesting problem. The regexes here, if you know regex, you can trivialize the problem with regexes. Otherwise, this seems like it could be a nightmare. Parsing text like that, especially like malformed text like this, just seems not super fun. But yeah, the regex has really simplified this quite a bit. So I think that kind of covers this one. I had just as two random things before I let you go. One, we hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel, and I just want to say thank you for that. It feels great to see people interested and engaging in the stuff that I put out, and I love it. Everyone who comments, I always try to comment back, and we've had some pretty interesting discussions from those comments too, which is great. And even some people have shared interest in working on some open source stuff with me, and it's just it's flattering, and it makes me feel great. So thank you for helping me feel great. Try not to get teary-eyed. And then the second thing, I did have someone who commented a while back asking why I don't do closure anymore. Before I get into that, let's commit this before I forget. No, thank you. Okay, cool. Day 3. Okay, cool. That's pushing. So that's available on my GitHub as well. Brad Seipert, github.com/BradSeipert/advent. If you want to look at the source code and compare it to yours, or however you want to do that, it's all up to you. Don't cheat, but I can't stop you. So, do whatever you want. Yeah, the closure comment. So someone asked why I don't write closure anymore. I answered them via a comment, but I thought it might be fun to revisit the language. So I might, maybe if there's a Advent challenge that doesn't seem too difficult. Actually, this might have been a good one for that in hindsight. I might write it in Clojure just to revisit the language. It's been about 6 years, but it's how I got my first bit of internet fame was blogging about Clojure. So I'd love to get back to the language. I still love the language. I just don't write it professionally anymore. So I just have not spent too much time with it. So yeah, let me know if you want to see that. And if so, I will do my best to find an Advent to make it happen. And if not, maybe we'll just do a Clojure video sometime. That might be fun. Have a great one.